Pokémon Legends ZA is the next immediate game on the horizon, and hey, wait a second, have you ever noticed that the title is just AZ backwards? Yeah, obviously being a game set in the Kalos region under the Legends series, there will no doubt be some interesting dives into the lore of the story that unfolds in Pokémon X and Y, so it makes total sense that there might be some kind of appearance made by one of the most important characters in the games. And while it would be really cool to speculate and theorize in the time leading up to the release, the truth is that we really know nothing about AZ. Now I don't mean literally nothing, but when you have a character who's over 3,000 years old and we only get to experience a snippet of his life, there's a huge gap that goes unaccounted for. We first meet AZ wandering around through the Kalos region, and eventually when he's captured by Team Flare, his whole backstory comes into view. 3,000 years ago, he was a simple man who loved his Pokemon very much. When a war broke out, Floette was sent off to fight and several years later died in the battle, having its body sent back home in a small coffin. AZ then became completely dedicated to building a machine that will revive Floette, and he's even successful, but it wasn't enough to just have his best friend back. He was beyond angry with those who took Floette from him in the first place, so he converted the machine into the ultimate weapon that would end the war. Floette wasn't the same, however. It knew that other Pokemon had to lose their lives in order for it to regain one, so it left. All of this is revealed to us during that cutscene, and it's also reiterated in an episode of Pokemon Generations. Though as we can see, AZ is clearly still alive in the modern day. The machine he built used a large amount of infinity energy and had side effects on the one who built it, causing him to essentially live forever and grow to be over 9 feet tall. As a man now without his beloved Pokemon, he's doomed to wander the world with an empty heart. Of course, at the end of the story, after the player defeats Team Flare, saves the world, and puts the ultimate weapon back to rest again, AZ challenges them to a battle, after which he learns the true meaning of a Pokemon trainer and his beloved Pokemon finally comes back, who is also immortal in case you didn't piece that together. Now I really do love this story. It's a tale of loss and one that shows us a distorted view of the relationship between people and Pokemon, in a much more fantastical setting. We often see in official media just how much some people will go through to ensure their Pokemon are safe. AZ is just about the ultimate extreme, where he fails to protect his Pokemon due to circumstances far beyond his control, both of which he conquers by his own efforts. And while there's a personal struggle at the center, he blames countless other people and disregards the lives of other Pokemon because of what happened to him. He's very selfish, and the sad part is that there are thousands of other people who now experience the same thing that he did, and so it's appropriate that Floette leaves him and he now wanders the world by himself. While he might get to meet other people, he knows that he will outlive them all, creating an endless cycle of loss, all of it brought about by his own actions. This is an interesting way of creating a character with the powers of God to restore and destroy life at his will, but one who is cursed with ultimate mortality in his immortality. He is constantly in a state of longing and wandering. The world is effectively his, but when there's no set expiration date, and when the one he cares about most has left him, is there even any meaning? It's only when he can restore his humanity and truly connect with others that he regains what he lost. So yeah, great story and I love it so much, but when you really think about it, we know very little about this man. What the heck was he doing for 3,000 years? Well, we do know that he made his way to the Hoenn region at some point, because in Sootopolis City there is one of the eternal flowers planted outside the Cave of Origin. It is mentioned that a traveler from a distant land had left it here. Zinnia also references him witnessing Mega Rayquaza 1,000 years ago. This was obviously done as a way to connect the Generation 6 games, but it serves as a nice way of fleshing things out just a little. Now I will say that last year, after we got the Teal Mask DLC for Scarlet and Violet, we got to learn the story of Ogerpon and the man who was its friend. And there was a persisting theory that the man mentioned in this story was actually AZ. The reason for this theory comes from the fact that they were mentioned as being travelers from a distant land, and in the storybook cutscene, the man is shown to be pretty large, though I really don't think this is supposed to be AZ. For one thing, I know that this is an abstract representation, but the man we see with Ogerpon is more bulky, while AZ, when we get a good look at him, is pretty lanky. Also, the man clearly isn't 9 feet tall when seen next to the people of the village. Lastly, it's kind of implied that he gets killed by the Lousy Three during their scuffle. And the one major thing that really defines AZ is that he's still alive. The man in the Ogerpon story is still definitely mysterious, and he must have looked really ugly or scary for people to fear him immediately, but he serves a completely different purpose. And then there's a most obvious thing, being that AZ doesn't get his closure until after reuniting with Floette, so having a deep friendship with another Pokemon before that derails a moment. I feel like if there was really meant to be a connection between these two, it would have been a bit more obvious. But honestly, we've been seeing a lot of speculation about the connection to Kalos and Paldea ever since the latter was first revealed, because I mean that giant crater in the middle of a region absolutely screams laser from a neighboring warring country. Maybe we'll get a direct answer soon. Really, that is where we leave things. AZ probably didn't do anything of much importance aside from witnessing the major events of the world, but it is still insane that we only get to experience a fraction of this character's life. I know we do basically the same thing for everyone else, but this fraction is a lot smaller when we were talking about a 3,000 year lifespan. With Pokémon Legends ZA coming out soon, I have no doubt we'll see him again. There's no confirmation of when this game takes place, the past, the future, or how far in either direction, but regardless, AZ has the potential to be there. I mean, it's not like he wasn't born yet, or he's probably dead, as would be the case with other characters. And with the fact that this game is called ZA rather than just Z, they really aren't going to miss that opportunity. Now that we have Pokemon games taking place centuries apart, the potential for a character who's lived this long is so insane. Personally, I'm theorizing that Legends ZA takes place about 100 years in the past, relatively close to Pokemon Legends Arceus, while coinciding with the development of a modern Lumio city. Meanwhile, the story will probably explain why we later find Zygarde just chilling in a cave. I don't expect AZ to have an extremely central role, but I honestly would like him to be a somewhat major character, probably advising or helping the protagonist at various points. But then dipping out of the story before he gets a chance to make any major character development, it would really make sense for him to be known around Kalos, probably popping up here and there throughout time. The story of him and the ultimate weapon is well known to the people of a region, and there's probably some legend about him showing up now and then. The thing is that we really have no idea what he could potentially be doing at the point in time this game takes place, because of how mysterious and long his life is between the war and the events of Pokemon X and Y. But after waiting almost a year since Legends ZA was announced, I think waiting a little longer won't be too much of an issue, because if AZ did it, surely I can. And that was just a little recap of where we are concerning one of my favorite characters in the Pokemon universe before we possibly meet him again in a few months. Let me know what you think in the comments below. For now, things can only get better as we head forward into the new year. Also, have you ever stopped to think just how tall 9 feet 3 meters actually is? Like, seeing somebody that tall would strike fear into anybody. I've got to know what else Infinity Energy can actually do. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, including the great Gators, Psychic Jalen, Brian7942, Dusty Gogo, Taxco6942, Astor L4 Hito, Timeless Moron, Fancy Orange, Siakar MA, Sora Baker, Dejorant, Matthew Kelly, Mobile Empire, Ezra, Forfeit Ion, Mugshot Cat, Pastel Blood, Accident Creation, Jamie Jensen, SB Jump, Castform 7, Victor Bryan, Alex Switch Shiny Hunts, Tyler Hopper, Lockadox, Koi 13, Cemetery Hill, Cosmo Zero, Rainfrux, Cheese at 62, Gator Kid 509, TF, Method Clock 947, Tajirai, Justin R, Phantom, and Quago. If you would like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes for comments, live streams, sometimes daily videos, and the members only podcast, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, and I'll catch you all later.
Two worlds collide. Powerful Pokemon shape the future. Pokemon trading card game XY Fates Collide. In stores now. Each booster pack of 10 cards sold separately. Cards vary by pack.